Hey folks, Matt Price here. I am sorry I have not been able to post in a long time. As you could tell, I've lost my voice because of COVID and everything's all clogged up and everything else. But outside of that, I'm not going to die, but yet I'm not going to give it to anybody else except my wife. She's already got it. But I wanted to come to you because a lot of people are asking me, why did you leave the National Association of Realtors? Why did you leave the local North Carolina Realtors? And why did you leave the MLS? And why? And why did you basically say to eXp that you're not going to renew with them? Well, there's a whole host of reasons. One is that there's another potential class action lawsuit against the National Association of Realtors, boards of commissions, and when I mean boards of commissions, I mean your local real estate board, your North Carolina realtors, and everybody else who's associated with it, including your multiple listing services. And basically, what that was uh, based on fixed commissions. And basically, what it was the NAR dictated that people had to offer a buyer's commission. The sellers had to pay the buyer's commission. And everybody says, oh, well, it's not required, and it's that, well, bull. And here's why. The NAR earlier in 2023 circulated an internal memo that said that brokers are required to offer buyer broker commissions, even if the commissions was set at zero. You're still required to offer it. And so what I did was I told eXp that if I have a seller who says, I don't want to pay any buyer brokers commissions, then I'm going to say zero, and I'm not going to put it in the MLS. And eXp says, well, you got to put it in the MLS or they're going to fine you. And I said, have them stand in line because they lost the lawsuit. And I'd be happy to sue to support my clients in their effort to ensure that if I get fined, we're going to have a fight. So anyway, I am now fully independent because I do not believe that sellers should be paying for buyer's agents. And around here, they have been paying 6, 7, percent on a commission on, $400,000, $500,000 house, 5% on $1 million house, and then they're splitting it. And to me, that's lunacy because it's not having the seller's best interests in heart. We're supposed to be fiduciaries, and we're supposed to have agency agreements and trust relationships with our sellers. That's not being a fiduciary. When you have somebody coming to you saying, hey, you got $1.5 million house. Well, we're only going to pay $101,250,000. Well, hey, well, okay, we could do that. Let's split the commissions. Or because I find that disturbing that you're paying somebody to negotiate against you. It's almost like paying a mediator to fight you. It does not work well. Or my other favorite is that I have a house as a listing agent that's $350,000 that me and the seller believe is a fair price, and then all of a sudden a buyer's agent comes in and says, "Hey, we're going to offer you $450,000 on that house, and oh, we're still going to split the commissions, right?" To me, that entire thing is completely unethical. And the National Association of Realtors has done this before in that they had a table. And the table was of what you charge for certain prices of housing. And if you did not charge that or you fell outside of that, well, then you got hit with a fine from the NAR or from the local boards or from the MLS because you're not charging what the NAR is telling you to charge. So that entire NAR thing, I hate to tell you that buyers and sellers, if you see that R, you could be guaranteed that it's a ripoff. I've been a member of it for 5 years. I finally had enough of it. And as I am now an independent broker, I am there to either represent you solely as a buyer's agent, and I expect the buyer to pay me for my services because there's a whole stack of paper, it's about that thick, that has to be filled out and sent in and negotiate, and everything else that you think of is okay. Perfect example. Some buyers will say, well, I'm going to buy this property sight unseen. Well, no, you're not with me. You're going to buckle down and you're going to sit there and say, okay, well, there's one thing that you're going to get, and that is an inspection. Because you're not going to walk into a house and you're not going to put your family into a house that burns down. Because who are you going to blame? Are you going to blame me as the real estate broker who says, here, you need to go ahead and do this inspection? Or are you going to blame the seller when it's actually you who says, oh, well, I'm going to buy this house sight unseen? Well, you don't know what's going on. You don't know if they have on anything that's unpermitted. It doesn't make any logical sense to not have a house inspection, not have a roof inspection, not have air conditioning and heat inspection, not have anything inspected, and then all of a sudden there's a problem, and then the buyer is the one who gets nailed with all of those costs. And it might be that the seller doesn't know anything about it. He's lived in the house for 30 years. He doesn't know that the house is split in half and is leaking in the upper attic and all that other stuff. All he knows is that he's got to sell the house in less than 30 days because he's moving into a retirement home. That's all fine and dandy. If you want to do that, that's fine. But I'm going to sit there and say that it's a very strong recommendation that you get an inspection done and you do not bypass that inspection. I'm supposed to be watching out for you, and you're supposed to be working with me to watch out for you. The other part of it is that the fees that I was paying to be part of brokerages, I had to recoup somehow. Some people say it's the cost of doing business, but if you think about it, you go and you pay for a loaf of bread. Okay? Well, when you pay by credit for that loaf of bread, all of a sudden your 99-cent loaf of bread is $4.59 because of the cost of doing business that's now built into that loaf of bread. Well, the same thing with real estate commissions. The National Association of Realtors and your local real estate boards and your state real estate boards nickel and dime you to death. So when you take a look at it, your $500 or $600 that you throw into that I have to throw into a particular deal never gets recouped back to me. So then the next time I have to bump it up. The other issue is you got a lot of what I call scumbag brokerages out there that charge a monthly fee. It's like a subscription service. I hate subscription services. The reason why I hate subscription services is because as a Boy Scout, I paid 25 cents a week in Boy Scout dues in order to get a magazine that was just fluff. Well, anytime that I have to pay $85 a month to an organization and I get nothing back, and then they still want a commission split, I have to ask the serious question as to what is that money going to, because it's not coming back in any kind of service or anything else like that. So you have to understand that when I'm heavily into the military type stuff, I help military people on a regular basis. I help people who are first-time home buyers and stuff like that. None of the money that I was giving to those brokerages were coming back to support those functions. All that money that was being spent was to go to a multiple level MLM scheme. And it's not just good enough to hang your license on somebody's wall and take 20% of their commission. So I sat down one day and I figured it out. I went and took out, if I did a listing at $100,000 and at 5%, and then I split that in half, And then I split that in according to how the commission structure was. And then I split all of the fees that were attached to it. And then I took out all of the other stuff. Me as a selling agent was only getting 34% of the commission that I was charging. So I may be charging 6%, but I have to give 50% of that away. And then all of a sudden, think about it, you give 50% away, and then all of a sudden everybody else is eating fees and whatnot away. So that 100% turned into 34%. So I was getting almost a third of what I was charging. And everything else went to, if you have children, everything else was going to bullshit. So I decided that it was time to just say, it's time to go on my own. Time to become a real estate auctioneer. And that's what I do. Certified estate specialist. That's what I do. I help people in probate space with their personal property and their real estate. That's what I do. I have a sign that travels around with me, and somebody says, here, I want this house sold in 45 days. I was like, okay, we'll price it at a 45-day sale. And then poof, it's gone in 45 days. I think it's important to understand that the NAR Code of Ethics works against sellers and it works against buyers. And the only thing their Code of Ethics does is protect their castle, the NAR's castle, at the expense of buyers, sellers, and real estate brokers. And I just simply had enough of it because I cannot proactively sit there and say that I have your best interests at heart while I'm feeding the monster, because the monster requires it. And brokerages were telling me that's like, look, our minimum that we charge is 5%, and that's it, period. There's no discussion about it. Doesn't matter if it was a $400,000 house. It doesn't matter if it's a $1.5 million house. I've lost many of deals because of that menagerie. And now I won't do that mess. I am here for you. And I am here for what you need to be done. I am here to go broke if it makes you have a successful sale. Anyway, I am Matt Price. My phone number is 919-614-6288. If I can help you with any kind of real estate or estate services, please don't hesitate to call 919-614-6288. Have a great week.